Dispatch is an incredible story-driven game where choices matter, at least according to the Steam page, that is. Don't get me wrong, the story is genuinely incredible. It gets you to care about these characters way more than you'd expect, considering how little time we actually spend with them. The music choices are perfect, especially during that one house party scene. I mean, I actually have that song by Bershie on my Spotify playlist now, but that's besides the point. The dialogue feels real without taking itself too seriously, and I'm also a huge fan of the plot. All that is to say, I think this game is incredibly well done and it deserves all the attention it's been getting. But one of the features that defines Dispatch, and also gets it the most criticism, is the whole idea that your choices matter. Pretty much every time you pick a dialogue option, the game pops up with "so and so will remember that." Every choice, every little decision, the game signals exactly who's affected. But here's the thing. Most of those decisions have zero actual impact on the story. By the end, the narrative essentially boils down to a few big binary outcomes. Whether Vizzy ends up a hero or villain, who you romance, whether you spare Shroud, and whether the Z-Team member you fired ends up in prison. And out of those four, only two of them are even influenced by more than one moment in the story. So yeah, doesn't that kind of mean the game is lying to us when it says someone will remember something that never even comes up again? Whether you call the Z-Team phoenixes or piles of burning shit, nothing changes. And because of that, a lot of people walked away feeling like the choices matter part was basically just an illusion. The illusion of choice. Which raises the question, what is the illusion of choice? I mean, we've all seen, the memes of the cow walking to the slaughterhouse, but in reality, the illusion of choice is a cognitive bias, one that makes us believe we have more control over an outcome than we really do. In a narrative game like Dispatch, it's that feeling that our decisions actually steer the story, even when they don't. I mean, the narrative is already laid out for us. We're just peeling it back piece by piece. And when players see the choices matter tag but finish the game feeling like their decisions actually didn't matter at all, it can feel disappointing. For years, illusion of choice has been treated like a lazy design trick, something weak writers use to hide a linear story. Almost like Adhoc took the easy way out instead of turning Dispatch into one of the best branching story games of all time. But what if I told you that the illusion of choice isn't a flaw here? It's a feature. That Dispatch works because it leans into this illusion and not in spite of it. Obviously, it'd be great if every choice had a real impact. But realistically, given the size of the team and the budget, the narrative was always going to be quite linear. But the decision to include illusion of choice anyway is actually part of what makes the game feel so good. But to understand why, we need to leave game design for a moment and jump into psychology. In gaming, illusion of choice gets dragged for being fake choices or disguising linear paths as branching ones. But in psychology, it's one of the most effective ways to keep people engaged. In the 1970s, Ellen Langer, basically the mother of positive psychology, came out with an innovative new idea that people don't need real control, they just need to feel like they have it. 6 different studies later, she found that humans consistently act like they have influence over completely random or predetermined outcomes, showing that even symbolic control changes how invested we are. I mean, hell, casinos figured this out ages ago. It's why slot machines have stop buttons that don't even affect the outcome. People still feel ownership over the result. Games are no different. A story can be totally linear behind the scenes, but if you're picking dialogue options, deciding whether to be snarky or supportive, even just choosing your favorite donut, your brain interprets that as agency. You start feeling responsible for how the moment plays out, even when the outcome is locked. And that feeling ties back into our own need for autonomy. Autonomy is the sense that your actions are your own, even in constrained environments. It doesn't require 12 branching paths, it can be tiny moment-to-moment expressions of agency. Just the act of choosing creates ownership. And this is exactly where Dispatch shines. The dialogue choices, how you comfort someone, how you talk back, who you trust, rarely creates huge branching paths, but they shape the emotional tone of your playthrough. They let you project yourself onto Robert, and even when the major plot beats stay the same, the road you took there still feels like yours. And then there's that iconic "we'll remember that" pop-up, a staple from Telltale games. And it doesn't just make us feel like we're steering the story, it actively helps us care about the characters more than the script alone would. Because, truthfully, Dispatch doesn't really give us that much time with most of these characters. There aren't hours of cutscenes, but we do get choices. Do you tease someone? Do you comfort them? Stay professional? Snap when you're stressed? None of these actions change the plot, but they deeply change how you, the player, experience the relationship. And here's the crazy part. Even if a character won't react any differently, you still feel like they might. That we'll remember that isn't a consequence meter, it's a little psychological nudge. It gets you to imagine how that character feels about what you said. You start filling in the emotional gaps yourself, and that imagined emotional work is what makes these characters feel so real, even though they technically aren't reacting at all. The illusion of choice humanizes the cast. Instead of NPCs, they feel like people whose opinion of you matter. And the reason that works is because you did part of the emotional labor, not the script. So when people say that choices don't matter, they're kind of missing the point. They do matter, just in a different way. They give you just enough agency to project yourself into the story, to feel like Robert's decisions are your decisions, and to make the relationships even more meaningful, even if they're static underneath. This is what makes us emotionally invested, after all. Every so-and-so remember that is less about branching paths and more about reminding you that your words carry weight, or at least that they feel like they do. It reinforces your sense of autonomy. It makes the story feel like something shaped by your decisions rather than something just happening in front of you. And this isn't just in the dialogue. Dispatch uses the illusion of choice even in the dispatching gameplay segments itself. Someone might say the gameplay doesn't matter because failing calls doesn't actually change anything for the most part. I mean, you don't get fired, you don't get a game over, so why is it even there? But honestly, the gameplay is what pulls you deeper into the narrative. It gives you time to sit with these characters, to hear their banter, their bickering, and it frames different emotional beats throughout the story. Like in episode 3, when the Z team starts sabotaging themselves, you don't just hear about Robert's frustration, no, you feel it. The gameplay reinforces it. You probably fail more calls than usual during that episode, and it gets under your skin the same way it gets under his. Then look at episode 7. Every previous episode's dispatching segment started with casual banter, but episode 7? And that shift hits way harder because the gameplay is showing you the tone, not just the cutscenes. The silence tells you everything about Chase's condition, the team's fear, and the overall tension there. So even if the gameplay doesn't affect the plot, it affects you. It puts you in Robert's mindset, and that makes every decision, every line, feel all the more personal. This is why the illusion of choice isn't just useful, it's almost essential for great storytelling. Fully branching narratives get messy fast. They split the writer's attention so much that no single path gets the polish it deserves. And in a game like Dispatch, where pacing and emotional beats are everything, too much freedom could actually hurt the experience. So the illusion of choice is actually the perfect middle ground. You get the emotional investment and the sense of agency, while the writers get to keep a tight, intentional narrative. So when players call illusion of choice deceptive or shallow, they're overlooking what it actually does. It deepens immersion, it boosts our emotional engagement with the story, and it satisfies our psychological needs for autonomy. In Dispatch, illusion of choice isn't a flaw. It's a feature that acts as the glue holding the entire experience together. And with that, thank you for listening, and take care.